You want to lead one day? Well, learn how to follow.
Well, good morning, Northpoint. Great to have you with us today. I want to welcome each of our campuses, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say your campus name, and you got to participate. This is the Help the Preacher section of our morning, okay? So when I say your campus name, give us a little shout out, and we're excited to welcome you. I'm going to start right here in Springfield. So good morning, Springfield. That was robust. Good morning, Dream Center. Yes, wow, blow me away. Good morning, Republic Campus. And, okay, Nixa, you're next. Now, do not go silent on me, Nixa. Good morning, Nixa Campus. And we want to welcome everyone watching online as well. Hey, today, we also want to let you know, if you're at the Nixa campus, next weekend, we have a big announcement for our Nixa campus. Now, it'll be for everybody. We're excited about it, but Nixa campus, make sure you're here with us next week as we continue to share what God's doing, continuing on in this next season there at Nixa, and we're all excited to be part of it. So next weekend, we'll announce it. I've said too much already, but welcome everybody to today. We're talking about sheep. We've been talking about sheep for a long time. We're walking through Psalm 23. We've been crawling through it. Last week we walked through 2 verses. This week we'll make up for it by only walking through a half a verse, but we're making our way there. Before we do that though, on the count of 3, everybody on the count of 3, yell out your favorite berry, okay? 1, 2, 3. Someone said dingleberry. Come on, junior high. I'm just kidding. I wanted to work that in. Okay, mine is the banana. Banana. Don't embarrass yourself by saying it's not a berry, because it is. Look it up. Not during service, or God will kill a baby unicorn. But it is a berry. It is actually a berry. It is not seed bearing. You do not plant bananas; they grow them, right? And so, what's interesting about the banana? This tool right here is just a little health machine. And if you didn't know that today, let me enlighten you on some banana business that you might want to know. You want to have bananas nearby because they are a great source of health. A banana, my friends, will help you fight off cancer and cholesterol. A banana, my friends, will help you fight off diabetes and diarrhea. I tell you what, a banana is about good for everything that ails you. A banana, you might not have known this, if you take the pill and you rub it on a mosquito bite, did you know that it will reduce the swelling and the itchiness of a banana, or not of the banana. The banana won't be itchy anymore. Neither will your mosquito bite. They say if you take the inside of the pill of a banana and rub it on your teeth for 2 weeks, about 2 minutes a night, your teeth will be whiter and probably stickier than they were before. A banana is a great source of health. Banana, we have human history records 8,000 years of banana history. That's more than any other fruit that we have record of. Now, I know those of you who grew up with a children's Bible, you're like, no, there was an apple in the Garden of Eden. We don't know it's an apple. Okay, that's just a very liberal translation. Okay, we don't know what fruit that was. Maybe it was the banana berry. We don't know. Also, we know about bananas. They are in the Egyptian hieroglyphics. They've discovered bananas, or were they emojis? Whatever they were back in those days, we have record of bananas there. The biggest country producer of bananas, any guesses? India, okay, produces more bananas than any other country. America used to produce a lot, but now we only have one state that produces bananas, and it is not Missouri, it is Hawaii. Bananas, the average American person eats 27 pounds of bananas every year. And if you're like, no way, I don't. Well, the person next to you, they do, okay? Because the average American, 27 pounds of bananas every year. The quickest time in Guinness Book of World Records to eat a banana is 20 seconds. You're welcome to try that. There's all types of different banana facts, but what I want to talk about today is this interesting element of where bananas grow, right? Do you know that you rarely find bananas in Alaska? If you're gonna grow bananas, you're gonna have better odds in Jamaica than Alaska. Now you can grow them in Alaska. As a matter of fact, if you Google this thing, you can buy bananas from Alaska, but they're not from the wild. You have to create a greenhouse to be able to create the atmosphere where banana grows, because the banana berry, my friends, grows ideally in a tropical climate that has enough humidity to keep it just nice and watered. About 70 degrees is the lowest you ever want to get, and about 88, 89 is the hottest you ever want to get, typically for the banana. If you get much hotter for the banana, it'll dry out and it won't grow well. If you get much colder than 70 degrees, it's not going to thrive. This is a really, really deep lesson that we're all wrapping our minds around as best as we can. It's this: the banana, although it's got tons of health, it takes a very unique environment for it to grow. Now, what I want you to understand is you are not all that different from a banana, my friends. Is we have this incredible opportunity to grow and to be healthy. But in order to do that, we need the right environment. And that's what I want to write at the very top of your outline. What I wrote down is this: that the biggest predictor of my spiritual health, is my environment. There is a culture that gives me a better shot to grow a banana. There is a culture that also gives me a better shot to grow in my faith. Now, what I am not saying is it's impossible to grow in your faith if you don't have an ideal culture. I'm not saying that. I believe that you can grow in your faith in any circumstance. At the same time, I want to talk today about the ideal environment that makes it the most likely opportunity for your and my faith to grow. God desires us to be healthy spiritually, and there is a certain culture that is a magnet for health. And we're going to talk about that. The single biggest determining factor for my health is the environment that I create, is the place I'm planted in. It's not my effort. Right? I want you to think about that. Here's a couple things it's not. The biggest impact of my faith is not how hard I try. It's not my effort. And maybe you grew up in an environment where you were going to church and for some reason it was all about the rules. Now, I'm not anti-rules, okay? We have rules in almost anything enjoyable in life. We have rules for relationships. We have rules for work. Rules are great, but they're boundaries. They're our guide, not our God, right? And when it comes to faith, if it was all legalistic, the challenge is this, is you can try really hard to never mess up. You can try really hard to convince all the angels in heaven that you're Jesus' long-lost twin. You can try really hard to keep up, but I'm telling you, your effort is not the single biggest determinator of your health. It's your environment, not how hard you try. Second thing that I want us to understand is it is not my emotions. My emotions are a gift from God. They allow me to feel the world uniquely. They allow me to feel in different dimensions. But my emotions, while they can impact my spiritual life, they're not the single biggest factor in my health. Because what happens is if I'm bummed out, if I'm feeling bad because of what I did, then that can actually sidetrack me. This gift from God to this dashboard of my emotions to let me know something's wrong. If that's the biggest factor, that can get out of whack and I can live in guilt and shame long past the forgiveness that I should be able to grab a hold of. Also, I can feel good compared to everybody else and feel good about my faith, but that doesn't mean I'm healthy. I need to understand that while effort is important, I ought to try in anything, but I am not trying to gain approval. I am from God. I'm trying to live from approval that God's already given me, right? So I want to try because I want to honor him. It's my gift to him. His forgiveness is his gift to me. My life is my gift to him, my life of obedience and reflection. But the biggest indicator is the environment that allows me to grow. What I want to do is I want to talk about this idea of an environment. I don't know if you're familiar with the reality show, The Biggest Loser. crazy cool journey to watch people's stories in this show. And it's been many years, but what you see is you get people who are very unhealthy. They've gotten so far beyond hope for health on their own. They sign up hoping they get a chance to go to the ranch. It's a place in California where you go to the ranch where you get world-class trainers. You get people who will yell at you and they're not even related to you. You get world-class dietitians and chefs. You get world-class facilities. And while you're there, you're trying to cut the LBs. You're trying to learn healthy principles. And it literally is changing people's lives. It's one of those shows you have a box of Oreos and a box of Kleenexes, right? You're just like, you're all in, right? But what happens is if you get cut from the team, right? You have all these competitions. If you get cut, you have to leave the ranch. And it doesn't mean you're out of the competition. All it means is this. Now you have to try and figure out how to get as healthy as possible in the time remaining on your own. And most people aren't able to do it. It's very emotional. Why? Because they understand the biggest key to their health is the environment that's created. We are the product of the environment we create. I know your mama's been trying to tell you that for years, but I'm telling you, she's not way off. We are the product of the environment we create. You're in charge of your environment. Nobody's in charge of your environment. Your mom's not in charge of your environment. You're in charge of your environment. When it comes to your spiritual health, we're going to walk through that. Now, I want to look at this verse, or a half a verse, Psalm 23:5, and it says this: you prepare, the shepherd, God, you prepare a table before me. This is my favorite part. In the presence of my enemies. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Now, growing up, that verse, that was one of my favorite verses because I love food. Like, I'm emotionally connected to food. Like, my earliest memories of me pouting and being sad all had to do with food, not having enough of what I wanted. Not that we didn't have enough food, but like I always wanted more. And I would be the type of kid when my parents were dishing out, my mom was dishing out the portions, it was always that. It was never help yourself. It was always mom dished it out. If my brother got more food than I did, instant tears, hot tears, because I had this mentality, this emotional connection with food. I am that guy. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you remember like being in love as a kid. My first girlfriend, I actually found a picture of my first girlfriend this week. I was in third grade. I was in love, well, as much as you can be in love in third grade. I want you to see the picture. You mind? Okay, here's the picture of my first girlfriend, okay? She was a snack, little Debbie was. I'll tell you, because I just love food. I loved it. I love food even today. Like that's a big deal. Anytime it's a big day, it's all about what are we gonna eat, where are we gonna eat, how are we gonna eat, how much are we gonna eat, all these kind of things. I mentioned last week, I love the new Hy-Vee. I love it. Why? You get to walk there and they have that awesome sample aisle. It's called the bulk foods aisle, but I'm sure it's free samples. You just quality control a whole handful of like chocolate covered, pretzels. I just love the whole experience of food. And when I was a kid, this is going to be my first temporary tattoo because my church didn't believe in real tattoos at the time. And so it was going to be, thou preparest a table before me. Where? In the presence of my enemies. That is like Chris Rock eating like crazy with Will Smith having to watch, right? Like, that's what I thought it was. I thought it was, God is so good, hashtag won't he though? God is so good, he's gonna make me a big old tater tot casserole and he's gonna make Jimmy and Johnny and Megan watch because they were my third grade enemies. Because they would make fun of me because I ordered, the shirt from the JCPenney catalog and it didn't look as good as me as it did on Don Johnson from Miami Vice, and they made fun of me and they were my enemies and they were gonna have to watch me eat because my God was so good, he was gonna prepare a table before me and make my enemies watch. And they'll be like, we were wrong all this time, and I'll be like, would you like some? Just kidding, right? That was the verse. And now this whole series ruins it for me. This has really removed and ruined one of my favorite Bible verses. Turns out this verse isn't about humans. because it's leadership is what we're talking about. It's not like the first 4 verses are about sheep and a shepherd, and then verse 5 is about Jeremy. It's not. You prepare a table before me. I'm the sheep. The word table. Some of you have favorite Mexican food restaurants that have the word table in them, okay? Or mesa. It's a Latin word. Table. And that's the word that we're talking about means plateau. It's a shepherd. Talking about the sheep. You prepare an opening, a field, a pasture before me. The good shepherd goes before the sheep and prepares it. Makes the water areas cleaned up, flowing, clears out the brush, the weeds. Because we talked about this last week, is that the sheep wouldn't stay often in that year-round in the ranch. So they would leave the Yellowstone Ranch, and then during the summer months, the shepherd would lead the sheep up to the mountains so they can chase the snow line, because the grass was very nutrient-rich, and so they would go through the valleys. Last week was walk through the valley of the shadow of death, right? We did that last week, and the sheep would be like, oh my word, it's scary, it's shadows, just because we're on our journey to the summer months place that the shepherd had already visited, the shepherd had already gone before, the shepherd had already made sure it was going to be a great spot, but the sheep don't know that, because here's something about sheep. They're in the moment, they're scared, they're like, oh my word, look at all the fearful things around me, but don't worry, thy rod, thy staff, they're with me, they comfort me, and then we get to the opening on this mountain area, this plateau, this table, this mesa. You prepare a table before me. Here's a picture of what we're talking about. This is a picture of sheep on a table, on a mesa. That they're in the mountains. This would be a typical summer home for a whole bunch of sheep. Is that they had been led there through the valley, and now they're there, and that is like the golden corral for the sheep corral. That's like the best spot, because God's that good. But I want to talk a few things today as we walk through this verse. It also says, in the presence of my enemies. And it's not talking about Jimmy or Johnny or Megan. It's talking in sheep terms. Let's bring that picture up again. If we're talking about sheep terms, the shepherd's prepared this opening for you to thrive. It's an environment for your health. But outside, you know who's out in those woods? Your enemies. The cougar, the bear, the lion. It's not the sheep's job to fend them off. The shepherd says, I prepared this for you. And it's not this arrogance like, ha ha ha, the cougars are like, oh man, this is a bummer. No. It is a warning. I prepared this place for you, but don't go wandering off, because the enemies are watching you. Now, your job is not to watch out for the enemies. Your job is to stay close to the shepherd. My job is to watch out for the enemies. So as long as you're hanging out with me, you focus on the grass. I'll focus on the timberline. Wow. That's God. That's what he does. So, a couple things when it comes to enemies. A couple types of perspectives on the enemy. Some people, you do not believe in any spiritual enemy. You're like, no, there's no devil, Bobby Boucher. It's not a thing. You don't believe, you think it's weird. You're like, my question for you is, do you not see the DNA of evil all around you? Like there's evil. The Bible doesn't glorify the enemy, but the Bible speaks of the enemy, speaks of a created being who led a rebellion. It was the original Game of Thrones. Leads us a rebellion against God, and now has impact and influence that results in death and destruction all over us. Broken systems, broken hearts, broken people. And I just want you to understand is, while the enemy is not the opposite of God, it's not all power in the opposite direction. That's not what it is. It's a creative being, right? It's not a fair matchup. But the enemy is real. Second thing is, some of you, you're over-focused on the enemy. You're like, the devil's everywhere. The devil is picking on me. If you feel like the devil's picking on you, first, you deserve a trophy. Because there are 7 billion people on this planet, and for the devil to ignore the rest of them, for you, you're hot stuff, okay? It's like, he's not omnipresent. He ain't everywhere, nor is he omnipotent. Some of you are like, omnipotent. I think my uncle had that. No, that's not what I'm talking about. That means all powerful. He's not all powerful. He's not everywhere. He's a created being, one place. The odds of him picking on you, pretty low, okay? Now, are you interacting with some destruction and chaos? Sure. But some of you are like, oh my word, I had a big appointment today and my alarm didn't go off. Satan! I'm like, come on, that's not Satan. That's Steve Jobs didn't program your phone good enough. Maybe it's the same. I don't know. I'm just kidding. Maybe you're like, oh my word, like the people at work, we're just gossiping about me. That's so Satan attacking me. No, they probably just don't like you. Okay, I'm just telling you that might be the situation. Satan's not even helping them not like you, right? You're like, oh man, that person, she dumped me. Like, Satan, why is he doing that? And it's like, that's not Satan, that's just her. Comb your hair, man, right? Like, I'm just like, too many times we look at life situations and we assign anything we don't like to Satan. And the problem about that is you're glorifying more power to something that doesn't need that power. Second thing is you're shirking yourself of responsibility when we really need to have responsibility. So I think a good zone to live in is, there is an enemy. He's not obsessed with me. Therefore, I will not be obsessed with him. But I got to stay close to the shepherd, because even though God's prepared a place before me, this world is not heaven. It's in the presence of my enemies. And there's a verse in scripture we're going to hit, but I want us to hit this idea that it's in your notes. Isolation, anytime whoop, 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 I go wandering off, isolation is an invitation for the enemy to attack. When it comes to the 23rd Psalm, isolation doesn't make you bad, it makes you vulnerable. Sin doesn't make you bad, it's worse, it makes you dead. There's a verse in 1 Peter, verse 5:8, and it says this: be alert and sober, and of sober mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. Again, most of the Bible is written to an agricultural environment. And when you think of the 23rd Psalm as sheep, it makes sense. If your enemy is prowling around looking for the weak link, isolation is an invitation for the enemy to attack. Now, what's the application? The application is not everybody needs to join a Northpoint church group, okay? That's not the recipe, though we want to have them. The point is this: we need community. One of the things we talk about in a January series, and one of the things we had a whole podcast on this, is 5 things I wish every Northpointer would have in their life. I don't care if you're 7 years old or 107 years old. 5 things. One of them is this: I need to have intentional Christian community in my life. I need to have intentional Christian community in my life. You need that, because isolation is an invitation for the enemy to attack. What does that mean? Some of you have natural relationships. Like, you have great friends who also share your values. You have some of your friends, they are lockstep with you in your values. Here's what your assignment is: bring intentional conversations to make those natural relationships stronger in the faith. Bring some intentionality to it. And we live in a golden era of those things. Right Now Media, Bible bookstores. There are a billion things that have tools for you to take natural relationships and bring intentional conversations. Don't just be fine with, I have other friends in my life who are Christians. Let me be intentional about some of the conversations I have so we build ourselves in our faith. Some of you don't have natural relationships around you, and you're like, maybe you're new to town, or you're like a raging introvert, or you're just like, that's just not your thing. Well, look for an opportunity to meet other people. That's one of the things we have as groups. That doesn't mean you're going to exchange best friends necklaces by week 6, but it's an opportunity for you to at least meet some other people while we provide the intentional conversation. Maybe you stumble into a couple natural relationships along the way. If not, try a bunch of them, right? Until you're like, hey, I like that person. Hey, let's hang out. Let's connect. Here's what every follower of Jesus needs: intentional conversations with natural friends. Which do you need most? That natural friendship. And so you got to look for opportunities to rub shoulders with people. Be intentional. Get outside your comfort zone. Keep trying. Some of you are like, I tried a group and it didn't work. Okay, I've tried many barbers and they didn't work, okay? You just keep going back. Some of you have great relationships. You just need to build intentional conversations there. Because when you need community the most, you will desire it the least. Don't wait until you need it and the enemy's attacking, because usually it's a surprise attack. So anyway, that's the good news. You got an enemy, you're vulnerable. Let's go to Cracker Barrel, right? Like, that's it. I'm thinking about food. Okay, so here we go. Second thing is this, is God provides an environment, not an entree. You know the difference. You know what an environment is. An environment is, it's like when you go to a restaurant that doesn't give you a spork, right? You're like, oh, it's fancy like that. Applebee's, right? You're like, okay, that's great. God will provide an environment for you to grow, but he doesn't deliver it to your door. How many of you have a subscription service of some type? Isn't this the era of subscription services? Some of you, your grandparents did too. They were called newspapers, so it's not all that trendy. But nowadays we have subscription services to so many things, like Netflix, Hulu, Peacock, ESPN Plus, Disney Plus, get the combo, whatever it might be, the subscriptions. I wrote down some of these subscriptions that I think are pretty interesting. Do you know that a car wash has a subscription service? Every time I go to Mr. Clean, right? And like, would you like to buy? Did you know we have a subscription service? I'm like, yeah, I'm not interested today. I don't want to be like, I'll never do it, but I'll never do it. I'm like, not interested today. They're like, well, but if you pay after 7 cleans every month, it's worth money. And I'm like, I haven't watched this thing 7 times in the last 2 years. Okay, but no thank you, not today. I'll keep considering it though. They have a prescription service. This one's a good one. It's called Bacon Freak. You're welcome. It's a subscription service, not prescription, but it kind of is kind of like a prescription. Subscription service, a bacon of the month sent to you. Yes, please. There's one called a Pocket Box. It's only $50 a month, and it will be like sending you every month doomsday preppers gear. I think Jim Baker sells this out of Branson, but it's cool. $50 a month if you're into that kind of thing. There's one called the Pickle of the Month for $25 a month. I don't know the price of pickles. That seems high. That's like bougie for pickles. Okay, but anyway, there's one called the Cloud Paper. You might want to write this one down. Cloud Paper sends you 24 rolls of toilet paper every month for only $28, but it's 3-ply toilet paper. That'll spoil your tush. And then my favorite, the Taco Bell Taco Lover subscription, $10 a month, and you get a taco every day. And you probably want to combo that with a Cloud Paper as well. That might be a good one. But there's one, it's a subscription service you can buy that will help you pay for all the subscription services you have. There's so many subscription services. Now, one of them that Leanne and I just invested in this last year, we love, it is called Suspense. HelloFresh. Every week, we have 3 different entrees dropped off on our doorstep And it is awesome. Like, I'm not a cook. Like, I love the food, but I'm not a cook. Like, everyone says, it's so easy to cook. I'm like, it's easier not to. It really is. Like, you're like, have you ever had fresh baked cookies? I'm like, have you ever left your Subway cookies on your dashboard? Same thing, right? Like it's not. But we started doing this because we were eating out way too much, and the kids are gone, and we're like, okay, what are we gonna do? HelloFresh is awesome. Okay, so by the way, first service, I started showing off and chopping, and I can only count to 9. Like, I was bleeding, and everyone's like, oh, that's hilarious. That's like fake blood. No, it was not marinara. It was blood. I'm barely surviving up here, okay? But I'm going to model for you because I'm that committed, leaving it all up here. So here's the deal. It shows you, like, and it sends you the meat and everything. So it's there, and it'll send you a little description. You see that? Right? These are Cheddar Bay Wonder Burgers with homemade French fries with the kind of sauce that Red Robin will be jealous of. I mean, it is an amazing deal. It sends it to you. It tells you how long it takes. Please put Johnson on your code and we'll both get a little kickback. But bottom line is, it'll send you everything you need to do to your doorstep. But guess what you got to do? You still got, and this is where it got nervous, okay? You still got to make it. So you got to take up the potatoes, and you got to cut these potatoes, okay? And then you get all the sauce, you get all this, you whoop it up together. It's awesome. You prepare it in about 40 minutes. You've got yourself a Cheddar Wonder Burger, okay? Now, here's the other option. This also is a burger, okay? This is McDonald's. You get the burger, and it's too early for fries, okay? I begged, but says, can I at least have a fry box? So we'll just say, okay, burger and fries. Which of those would you rather eat? I'm betting you're gonna love this compared to this. Maybe you're like, no, I like this. I got a movie for you called Super Size Me, okay? Anyway, so this is gonna be better, it's fresh. Here's what I want us to understand, is a lot of us have a DoorDash diet. God, I want you to do something for me now. I don't want to get out of my recliner. I want you to change my life without me having to do anything. Abracadabra, bippity boppity, booyah. He prepares a table before you, but you still got to eat. You've still got to do some work. He's going to give you a HelloFresh health, not a DoorDash diet. What you got to understand is, I am going to have to follow some instructions and say, now, how does this work? How long does this go in? What ingredients do I need? And I'm going to have to look at it, compare. No, I don't think, I'm missing this. And that's what we need to do with our life. God wants us to have health. God wants us to eat, but he's going to give you everything you need right in front of you. You're still going to have to put it together. For some of you, this principle will change your life and help you create an environment where the culture produces health spiritually. Every day you get scripture, you get resources, and say, God, what part of my life are you wanting to direct? Now, who am I to look at this and be like, oh, foolish, nah, I got a better idea. Now, some of you are good at cooking, but I'm not. Like when Leanne and I get this, we are like dialed to the instructions. And that's not bad. When you begin to learn how to build healthy situations, just dial it in. And God will do that. So the last couple of things I want to share is this. And they go together, but God is always preparing my next season for me. The shepherd in these days goes ahead of the sheep. And they know the sheep just graze. That's why you can like rent goats and stuff, okay? Because they'll just eat everything. Blackberry bush is getting out of control, just rent you a goat, right? You don't like the leather in your car, just open the door and rent a goat, okay? It'll eat everything. Shepherds or sheep look at everything under their nose like an Applebee's sampler platter. They're just gonna eat it. A shepherd knows that. A shepherd will go up to the table on a trip before he takes the sheep, will remove all the weeds that will make the sheep sick, will declutter the pools of water, will bring up a bunch of oil because, when we talked about this early in the series, but because sheep will get flies and stuff, especially in the summer, and they can't really scratch their nose very well, and the flies will lay eggs inside the nose of the sheep, and so the shepherd will take the oil and put it on the sheep because the fly is repellent for insects. Sometimes they'll prepare something that's already up there so they can just dip the sheep in the oil. So that way, it says this, you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies, you anoint my head with oil. The things that are going to get you, the things that are going to just start pestering you, the shepherd's so good. It's not like, can you imagine the sheep? They don't know. There's like, and they get up there like, what? This is awesome. Look at the grass. Look at the water. There's even like oil baths. Wow, what a coincidence. The shepherd's like, you kidding me? Like, you think that just happened on its own? I prepared this before you. Here's what you need to know. God right now is preparing your next season. And some of you are walking through a dark valley. You're like, I hope the shepherd knows what he's doing. He's excited to get you there. That's why he's leading you. He knows his ways are higher than our ways. He knows our next season. He's prepared us for our next season. And some of you don't like the season you're in right now. That's all right. Your shepherd is preparing another season. Some of you love the season you're in right now. Don't hold on to it too tightly because the shepherd is always preparing another season for you. Some of you look back on your history and you can see your destiny was shaped by what was in your history because you realize, man, all that time I thought it was random, but God is so good. He prepared that season for me and he's doing it again. And the last thing is this, God is always preparing me for my next season. He's preparing me for my next season. What area do I need to grow right now so I can sustain the influence he has for me next? What lesson do I learn right now so that God can pour out the next season of my life? Don't you dilly-dally. Get there. Understand that God's provision has already been orchestrated for you. He's prepared it for you. Just start climbing up that mountain. Get there. Put yourself in an environment. And God has prepared the season. He's prepared you. And it's all about health. So as we wrap it up, I'm going to invite our ushers to come forward at each of our campuses. And I really want this moment right now to be a moment we think about that next season. We think about that good shepherd. Some of you today, what you need to be reminded, you're not alone. Some of you wonder if you can get through this season. You can. You're not alone. And it's not a survival of the fittest. It is a following of the shepherd. He's prepared that next season for you. You will never get there and catch him unsurprised. Now let him prepare you for that next season. Whether it's the area of generosity, whether it's the area of kindness, gratitude, forgiveness, self-discipline. What does he want to prepare in you so that you can leverage in that next season? Maybe on that card, you can think of something and that becomes your prayer request. God, I invite you to shape my life in this area. Or God, I'm praying for this situation. I feel like I'm in the presence of my enemies. Let me get close to the flock right now. God, I need you to protect me. Whatever is your next step or prayer request, whether online or at our campus, it'd be our honor to be able to pray with you this week. Maybe you have a specific next step. You know that, man, I want to go public with my faith. I want to get baptized. And we're doing that in a few weeks. That's our opportunity. It's a declaration of dependence on God. To say, God, I'm following you. If you've not yet done that, we would encourage you to write that. Whatever your next step is, it's also our opportunity to give back financially. And I know for my journey and for many of you, that was a journey of preparation. But God unleashes blessing when we do that. So just listen to what your shepherd tells you in these moments. Together, we can have more energy to be more efficient, more effective when we follow together. And so if you came prepared to give, you can drop it in the bucket. If you're joining us online or you just prefer throughout the week, there's lots of ways to give. But let's let this time, whether it be a card or even coin, whatever it might be, that this would be a spiritual commitment that we invite God to speak to us. So I'm going to pray and then we'll pass the buckets. So Father, thank you for this opportunity to be reminded you didn't send us on an assignment on our own. You don't expect us to protect ourselves. But God, you have prepared before us a table so that we can eat, that we'd stay close to you because, well, we've got enemies. God, we love you. We thank you. I pray that these next steps would be a domino impact in people's lives. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Hey, ushers, you can pass these buckets. Those of you who join us online, you can click the link and participate this way. As the buckets are passed, though, I know what you're thinking. It's April. Does that mean we have new Northpoint merch? Yes, you're right. And I've got a video to prove it. Check this out.
Now that's a great looking shirt.
I'm gonna wear this all the time. I love this shirt.
That's my favorite shirt.
How much is it?
I gotta get me one of those.
All right, I love Northpoint videos because you just don't know what's going to happen, okay? I just want to say thank you for being here. I do have a few announcements. One of them is what you just saw, and that is that we have merch available. We don't have a whole lot. In fact, we have sold more than we thought that we would. So if we sell out, we're going to be making plans on how to get more. But just so you know, there is some merch available. We also have tables out there that give you an opportunity to volunteer. Now, we want everyone to know that there are plenty of opportunities. If you want to work with kids and you want to help kids and you want to do what Jesus said, and when he said, hey, if you can receive kids, there is something about that is like receiving the kingdom of God. If that's something you're interested in, there's kids and there's connections. There's all kinds of teams. And we want you to know that there's plenty of opportunities. And then here are some dates for you to remember. Next Saturday, April 9th, is Serve Day. And you may be wondering, what is Serve Day? Serve Day is where we get this Springfield campus ready for Easter. We want Easter to be the best experience that we can make it, where people can have this life-changing awareness of God, which maybe you experienced today. We know that Easter is a big day for that. So if you want to come serve, it's from 10 to noon next Saturday. And then when Easter's here, okay, we know that 3 services is going to be packed. So we did add a 4th service, and it's on Saturday night. We'll have food trucks out there. So I just want to encourage you, if you normally come on a Sunday morning, just consider coming on a Saturday night. Consider giving other people the opportunity to have an optimal time that maybe they don't normally go to church and they say, okay, I'm going to go with grandma, okay? Or I'm going to go for the first time since COVID, whatever it would be. If you want to give them an opportunity and you want to come on Saturday night, consider that. If not, come on Sunday morning. We're fine with that. And then one more important date would be the Sunday after Easter. It is Baptism Sunday. I already had plenty of people say, hey, I want to get baptized. I want to make that declaration of my faith. So if that's you, make sure that you let us know through those connection cards. That's the Sunday after Easter. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're going, what's the first thing he talked about? That was so much that he was saying. That there are serve opportunities for you to be able to volunteer, plenty of opportunities, even throughout the week, even here in the office. In fact, I have someone from the office with me. If you can say hi to Dwight. Dwight's here from the office. Dwight, what would you tell everybody?
Whether you're a fan of Bears beats
or Battlestar Galactica, we have a place for you.
All right. Have a happy Sunday, everybody. We're glad that you're here.